All right, good morning, guys. So we are getting into circles this week, and our learning objectives for circles is to be able to understand the relationship between angles, arcs, and the properties of lines that intersect the circle. This week, we want to be able to identify and differentiate between central angles and inscribed angles, okay? With that, we want to be able to define and locate minor arcs, major arcs, and semicircles. And then lastly, we want to be able to understand the relationship between an arc's degree measure and then the central angle that it is associated with, okay? So we're going to just get into some quick information about circles. We're actually only going to be taking notes on central angles today, and then we'll be getting into inscribed angles later. Okay, so like everything else, a circle has a specific measurement. We just finished triangles, and we know that a triangle measures 180 degrees. With circles, a full circle's arc, okay, and what we mean by an arc is this here that I'm lining. A full circle's arc measures 360 degrees. Okay. An angle formed by two radii is called a central angle. And then what do I mean by that? Okay. So basically what a radius is half of a diameter. So this line that I just drew there is called a diameter. It's essentially a chord from one end of a circle to the other, but a radius is half of that. And so if you guys see here, this is half of a radius, and this is half of a radius, okay? That is creating a central angle. And the way that it helps me remember what a central angle is that it's at the center, the vertex is at the center of the circle, okay? And so what this arrow here is pointing to is a central angle. And this is formed by two radiuses. So I have one radius here, and I have another radius here. Okay, the measure of the arc found on the inside of the central angle's sides equals the measure of the central angle, okay? So all this is stating is, and you don't have to do this, but basically whatever your arc measures, so whatever this arc, and if you see this is an arc, okay? Your arc measures the same as your angle, okay? So basically what I have here in yellow, they're going to be the same always, okay? So if we look at this example or this circle here, this is an angle that measures 60 degrees, and I need to know what my arc measures. My arc is my U. Remember, this forms a U. because it's a central angle, my arc also is going to measure 60 degrees, okay? And we want to look at this question here. You don't have to circle this, okay? It says, how would you find the degree measure for the arc that is not on the interior of the given central angle, okay? So what we found here is this arc right here, right? I know that that's 60 degrees. What they are asking is, what if we wanted to find out what this arc measures? I don't have an angle that's associated with it, right? But I have enough information to determine how much it measures. Why? Because I know that my circle measures 360 degrees, right? And I have been given, or I found, what part of it is. This arc here is 60 degrees, okay? I can subtract that from 360 to get the rest of my circle. So when I do that in the calculator, I'll end up with 300. And so this teal arc measures 300 degrees. So for these central angles, this is more or less what the example problems will be when we have a practice worksheet, is just finding the measurements of different parts of a circle given a central angle or given a specific information, okay? If we are given an arc that measures 180 degrees, this is called a semi-circle. And in parentheses, I am going to put half. A semicircle is half of a circle. This here is half of my entire circle. If I'm given something smaller than that, so if an arc that is smaller or less than a semicircle, this is called a minor arc. Okay, when you think of a minor, you think little, underage, small. Minor means small, okay? If I'm given, so let me give you guys an example of that real quick. Okay, I just gave you an example of a semi. This here is a minor, okay? It's less than half of a circle, small, minor arc, okay? You don't have to draw this out. If I have an arc that is bigger, or greater, and let me fix that real quick. Then a semicircle. This is called a major arc. So what does that look like? I have a semicircle here and it would be bigger, okay? So let's say I went all the way to C. Okay, does that kind of remind you of Pac-Man? Okay. This here would be considered a major arc. It's bigger, okay? So when we go into naming, so it will ask us to name a semicircle, or what is the name of the semicircle, what is the name of the minor, what is the name of the major arc. We have to name it by the rules. So for example, a semicircle or semicircles are named using 3 points. What do I mean by that? Okay, let me look at our first circle that we have here on the left. This is a semicircle here, right? When I would name this, I would use my point A, point D, and point B. And you can do it vice versa. You can do B, D, A, okay? But I would have to name it using those 3 points. When you're given a minor arc, you only use 2 points. So remember, minor means small. I have this minor arc here, and I would name that after point E and point F, okay? If I'm given a major arc, so remember it's bigger than 180 degrees, it's bigger than half of a circle, like this circle here, it's bigger, because if half a circle would be here, okay? And that's bigger, just want to show you that. Then we also name it using 3 points. I would make my way at the starting point all the way to J and then all the way to I, or flip-flopped. But I have to name it after those 3 points. Okay? I'm going to erase that real quick because it's asking us to do these 3 examples here at the bottom. And it's saying use the circles on this page to the left to name each of the following. To the left, meaning these 3 circles, we're going to use them, okay? And they're just wanting us to give examples of a semicircle, a minor arc, and a major arc, okay? I have a semicircle, or half of a circle here. Again, I would use A, D, B. So for a semicircle here, I have arc. That's how we do our, A, D, B. Or you could do B, D, A. I also have a semicircle here. On the bottom half. Okay, I can name that using point A, point C, and point B. So I would name this arc A, C, B. Okay. Okay, I have a minor arc. So remember, think small. I have this here. This is arc EF. Now remember, a minor arc is less than 180 degrees. So let's do pink. I also have a minor arc here. Now, I see how someone can be confused because there's 3 points here, and they're going to think, okay, that's major arc because there's 3 points. But remember, a minor arc is less than 180 degrees. I have a semicircle here. And what I have in pink is less than that, okay? So that makes it a minor arc. And so when we're naming minor arcs that have 3 points in it, we're only going to name it after the beginning and the end, okay? So for this one, I have arc H. Let me fix that. I. Okay. Next thing, or last, I have a major arc. And then let's go to our second circle here. I have a major arc here. This is bigger than 180 degrees. It's basically almost the whole circle. So when I'm naming this, I'm starting at E, I have point G, and I go all the way to F. So this major arc, I would name it E, G, F. Okay. And then we have one more. Okay. So this last circle, I have another semicircle here. Okay. Again, this here is half of a circle in purple, and what I have in green is bigger than that. Okay, it's more than 180 degrees. So I would start at H, go around to J, and then end with I. So for this arc, I have arc H, J, I. Okay. Okay. So this is basically everything that we need to know when it comes to central angles. Obviously, we're going to have to add some numbers in there to find the measurements of specific arcs in a circle, and we will practice that on Tuesday. Okay, make sure that you're getting all the notes down so that we can be ready to do our practice on Tuesday and we're not behind, okay? Have a good day, guys. I will see you tomorrow. Bye.